What's going on, everyone? Excuse me, this is Sheets, and we're going to be doing a contrarian betting breakdown for this fight card tomorrow. And we haven't done a full slate contrarian betting breakdown in a while. We've done a couple of short ones where I've just highlighted kind of the best ideas and things like that. And we've done pretty well, and it makes me want to avoid what I'm doing today. But I still like this format better than just going and picking my best bets because I do like giving something for every single fight. And quite honestly, I mean, who's to say, what's a 1 star versus a 2 star versus a 7 unit versus a 5 unit? More to the point is I'd like to teach you guys how to think about wagering and wagering markets in sort of a contrarian way. And it just so happens that I think UFC is pretty well formatted for that. And for those that have not heard this rap before, you'll forgive me, but of all of these sports where there's wagering and are where you have a lot of liquidity and people are giving a lot of opinions and things like that, I can't think of a sport that exceeds UFC with respect to the way narratives and storytelling drive the ownership of some of these props and drive some of the money lines and some of the steam that comes to some of these plays. It's a sport that is just so ripe with chaos, and yet people are so sure that they could just narrow it down to one or two possible outcomes in a fight. And what that means to me is that those most obvious results, I'm not saying they're not most likely, but they're almost always overvalued. Okay. So what I like to do is just kind of get my finger on the pulse of what people are talking about and what people believe could happen, and essentially get an idea of what the chalk is. I don't necessarily mean the chalk being the most favorited thing, but just the bet that it's just such an easy story for us human beings to tell. And I say human beings almost negatively in this form because listen, us being human beings, we love to be able to figure things out. We love to be able to make sense of chaos, and we love to be able to tell stories about how that chaos is going to be restored to order. And unfortunately, that biases us in a way. So what I like to do is just kind of go through this, say, okay, what's not the most logical thing to happen, but what story is the one that everybody seems to be telling? And then essentially just fading them. And the idea is that if you're going to fade that which is the most overvalued, then you can almost, okay, pick anything else blindly. And I can't say that you'll be plus EV because the VIG is really tough to overcome. But I think you're going to be close. So if we could add a little bit more of our own takes and our own knowledge of the game on top of fading that which we know is going to be overvalued, I think that we're going to be onto something. So again, I don't really think that all 12 of these fights are conducive to that, but because I like to go through the process of talking through this and training my brain and yours to think this way, I am going to go through them all. So let's go over the rules again for this. The rules is that we are going to be betting one thing on every single fight. And obviously, that's not the best money management system in the world, but we don't care. Second of all, you're going to be betting 1 unit on every fight. And that, of course, is not the best money management system in the world, but we don't care. The other thing, which is kind of fun, is that, well, first of all, as far as unit size goes, I mean, you'll see exactly what I'm betting. I'm betting $180 per fight, 10 times high, good luck. And again, I just always think that it's healthy if people are going to give out picks and say they're going to bet them, to actually say how much money they're going to be putting on them. I mean, listen, I know that units are different for everybody, and I get it. I don't know. I just feel it's a little more genuine to actually say what you're betting. So, and the last thing, which is always fun, is that we're going to presume that we lose the first 11 fights. So in the main event, we're always going to give you something that tries to get all your money back. So in the main event, we're going to be doing something that gets us at least 11-1. And I'm on this one already. Okay. I have to talk myself out of something that's going to be getting you 50-1. I might do it anyway. Okay. But I definitely have something that's going to get you over 11-1. We'll get there. So let's just kind of go through this. And first fight, you have Cody Brundage versus Eric McConico. And the narrative that's being driven here is that everybody kind of hates Cody Brundage nowadays. It's like he's in all these kind of weird fights with no contests and DQs and things like that. So nobody really wants to play him. But one thing that everybody is pretty sure about is that this fight is going to finish. You know, like Cody Brennan is very aggressive. And if things aren't going his way, he's going to look for a way out. So the stuff that you can't bet is anything really inside the distance. You can't bet this fight under 1.5 rounds. You can't bet Cody by KO. You can't bet Eric by KO. So what you can really bet, though, is something that's not, you know, it seems a little bit weird, but you could play Cody by decision. And you can get Cody by decision at a very, very heightened mutual, so to speak. So let's see, Cody by decision is plus 650. So we are going to be trying that. So Cody plus 650 for 180. Now, I do promise you I'm going to put these bets in, but because I'm on Zoom, the DraftKings really doesn't like that. So it's not going to let me put them in, but I'm going to fire them all up and we'll put everything in just after we get out of here. Okay, Gabriella Fernandez versus Julia Stoliarenko. So here's like a good example of where the most obvious and the most narrative-driven play is not necessarily chalky, but it's sort of the chalk. So, like, I'll tell you one bet here that, well, two bets really, that I know are going to be overvalued, and it's not really what you think. And that's going to be Stoliarenko by sub, because all you're hearing all week long is that Stoliarenko, she's armbar or bust. In other words, she gets all of her wins by armbar. So if you're going to play her anyway, you might as well play her by submission. And more to the point, I mean, you could also say that most people are suggesting is that she's going to win, if she's going to win it all, by round one armbar. So in a weird way, even though she's 6-1 by sub, it seems like a big price. It's probably the worst price that you can get on the board because everybody is going to be, not everybody, but everybody's been at least talking about that. So I'd have to think that this line is bad. Okay. So what we are going to be doing here is something that it's become, I don't want to say one of my brands, whatever, but I really like doing this, is that whenever there's a lot of narrative on one person to be doing something by submission, just to play the other one, okay, by submission. The idea being is that if we're so sure that this fight is going to get to the mat one way or the other, that the person who is not the overvalued submission prop is probably just as likely to finish as the other one by sub, and you're going to get a much bigger mutual relative to her real chances. So I think Gabriella by submission is probably some good value here. So we're going to play Gabriella Fernandez by sub plus 350. All right. Jocelyn Edwards versus Priscilla Cachoeira. This one is, I almost feel like a sucker doing this one because here's what I was expecting to hear all week, that Priscilla Cachoeira, I mean, she's very tough. She can get knockouts. So she's basically knockout or bust. And if she's going to win, it's going to be by knockout. And Jocelyn Edwards, I was expecting to hear, she can, she just minds her P's and Q's, maybe go for takedowns. She could either win, a wrestling-based match or even maybe a point fighting striking match. But what I've actually heard this week is just basically that Jocelyn Edwards can't lose. I mean, I've just basically heard that she's leveling up, she's getting better, she's better at all phases, she's going to just take Cachoeira down. So, just a weird way, what I feel is like a very obvious play is just not even being bet at all. So we're just going to go ahead and do this. We're going to play Cachoeira by KO at 10-1. Is that a joke? You know what I mean? Like, how could I'm not saying it. But she's not winning unless it's by KO, and she's only 3-1. I mean, this looks good to me. Okay, moving on. We have Uros Menich versus Gilbert Urbina. I'm very hesitant to put my own take on this. This is one where I'm a little bit biased because I really believe that Menich is just awful. I mean, I think that he's overrated, and that he's got a really big deficiency here in his ground game. And Urbina, while he's not great, he at least is going to be going for, I imagine, for wrestling, takedowns, control, that is where Uros Menich is deficient. So if in fact you get the right fight plan, I mean, what ends up happening sometimes is that once he takes him down the first time, and Menich can't do anything about it, it's just going to be more and more and more and more. So I think that Urbina is like very, very live here. I just think the money line is just too big. So if I really had it in me, I would play Urbina inside the distance. Because all the finishing upside apparently is in Menich's side. And then I'm like, maybe I should play Urbina by sub. But Urbina by sub actually is not that that wide. It's only plus 750. So I do think that there are variations where he wins and doesn't necessarily sub him. So we're just going to play Urbina plus the 295. I'm surprised that not many people have been on this idea this week, but I don't know. We shall see. All right, Elijah Smith versus Toshiomi Kazama. So this one is another one. This is I'm going to do this. I'm just totally going to do this. Just again, just to be a pain in the neck. So Kazama has been, just running into fists since he's been in the UFC. He ran into Rinya Nakamura's fists in like 2 seconds. Then he ran into Garrett Armfield's fists, and then he was getting smoked in his last fight before he came up with a miracle sub. And now it's like, okay, he's going to go against Elijah Smith, and the same thing's going to happen. He's going to get dropped, and he's going to get destroyed. But I mean, usually what ends up happening, not usually what ends up happening, but what I usually hear about is, okay, Kazama just coming off a sub. Elijah Smith doesn't have the greatest submission defense. He's been put in submission spots before. Why don't you just play Kazama by sub? And when you look back at Kazama's record, I mean, he's got like a bunch of submissions, but because, again, he's gotten rocked before, no one's playing him by sub. So I'm going to try it here. Kazama by sub plus the 1,200. I mean, and we'll just see. All right. Julius Walker versus Raphael Kirkiera. I'm going to try this one too. I don't know what to say. There's just no way you could play Julius Walker in this fight because all you've heard the whole week is how Kirkiera is not UFC material. He's terrible, and he's just and yet everybody's playing Julius Walker, and they're also playing him by KO. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that if you want to play Julius Walker, you could play him by decision. I mean, at least not nobody's playing that, but from what I've heard, like Kirkiera has some grappling. And from what I've heard, Julius Walker hasn't really been tested there. So I don't know. This is gross. But Kirkiera by sub at 22 to 1, we're going to be forced to try it. I mean, I'll tell you this, by the way, guys. I mean, like, I wasn't kidding. We're really going to need something in the main event to make up for all these losses because we're really, really heading towards 0-11 here. Okay, let's move on, I guess. Eric Anders versus Christian Leroy Duncan. So Eric Anders has never been finished, and Christian Leroy Duncan is not much of a finisher, really. So it's basically the idea is that Christian Leroy Duncan is going to just win an easy decision, or maybe Anders gets a takedown or two, but Christian Leroy Duncan just kind of gets there. What people have been failing to realize is that Anders has been dropped in, I think, round 1 of every one of his last 3 fights, like including that of like a 40-year-old Chris Weidman. So this is kind of weird, but I think I'm just gonna play Christian Leroy Duncan either by KO or by whatchamacallit, or round one. So let's just kind of take a look at these. Well, Christian Leroy Duncan KO in round by KO in round one is plus 400. That's like at such a terrible price. It's probably going to win. So we're going to try that. Christian Leroy Duncan TO KO TKO DQ round one plus 400 for 180. Okay, moving on. Miles John versus John Matsumoto. This is not a fight that's being talked about that much, except that it's considered a fight that's likely to go to decision. And both fighters are tough and this type of thing. So we got to bet something inside the distance here. And I guess, I don't know, just not for no reason. So I can't see Miles John's finishing him. So we're just going to play John Matsumoto here and just for vibes. And I do think that he has good submission upside. So we're going to play Matsumoto by sub here, plus the 450. And we're going to roll with that. Okay. So what are we going to now? 0 for 8? Okay, so we're 0 for 8. We need 3 more losers, and then we're going to get to the main event. Okay, this one's probably my favorite. I really like this one a lot. Okay, pause this for a second. Have a little bit of variance. Just 1 second. Okay, so sorry. So Andre Fili versus Christian Rodriguez. I like this one quite a bit, actually. So what are we hearing here? Okay, that C-Rod is the prospect killer. Okay, he's really good at taking out these young prospects with no experience. But then when he goes in against vets like Rosa and who was in his last fight, he's just not as good. And this here, he's against Andre Fili, who's a vet. So we're going to play Andre Fili. Or if you are going to play Christian Rodriguez, he's not much of a finisher. You're hearing that too. So all of that leads into what we're going to be doing here. And we are going to be playing C-Rod by sub. C-Rod by sub plus 450. Let's go. Okay, so what are we now? 0 for 9? All right, so 2 more fights. Yasmin Lucindo versus Angela Hill. I hate to do this. I've lost money with this exact thing before. Okay, Angela Hill will fight for your money. Angela Hill is a dog. She's tricky. She can't be finished, right? Nobody ever finishes her. And everybody loves her. So we will be playing Yasmin Lucindo by sub plus 800. Especially considering that Lucindo didn't get any takedowns, didn't get any significant strikes off against Lemos, for example. And Angela Hill has better takedown defense. The only thing I'm concerned about is getting a little bit too greedy here, and maybe I should just bet her inside the distance. Like if she gets her down, maybe she actually gets a knockout. So maybe we'll do that. Let's do let's be a little less greedy here. Instead of by sub, we'll just play her by TKO or sub plus 500. Okay, a little bit easier. Okay, so now 0 for 10. But I promise you that all these are, I don't say good value, but they're not over bet. There's no way. No one's playing this crap. Okay, 1 more fight, and then we get to get all of our money back. Steve Ursch versus Ode Osborne. Pretty easy as far as I'm concerned. You have Ursch, who's a better technical striker. He's a better wrestler. But Ode Osborne, he's got a lot of first-round upside. So considering that he's on short notice, he's going to go for it in the first round. So what that means in a really weird way, that Osborne, like by KO or Osborne round 1 is actually pretty bad value. People are actually doing that. And Ursch later in the fight is probably bad value. So what you probably want to do is play Ursch round 1. Now, if you really want to be nasty or pick a method of victory, but I'm not going to do that. So we're going to go Urseg, round one. I don't care exactly which way, whether it be sub or whatever. Let's just look at fight lines. How do we do this? Not fight lines. We're going to do, where does that go? Winning method, round props. Yeah, Urseg round one plus 225. Okay, so let's now review like the atrocious bets that we've made, okay, to go 0 for 11. So we have Cody Brunage by decision. I mean, I don't think he's ever won a decision. I mean, it's like kind of ridiculous to even betting this. With Stoliarenko shooting for these arm bars, I don't know exactly how Fernandez is going to win by sub, but we're trying it. Cachoeira, again, from what I've heard all week, like Edwards should be like minus 10,000 in this fight. She's going to just take Cachoeira down. That's the end of the story. So we'll lose. Urbina, again, he's supposedly terrible, and Menich has like all the power and all this stuff. I don't know about this. So we got this one. We're going to lose this at plus 295. Kazama, I mean, how are we going to bet a guy coming off a fluke submission? He's really going to do that again? We'll see. Now, this one's literally throwing money in the trash can. We have literally the worst fighter in the UFC by sub. I mean, like, how bad can this possibly be? Christian Leroy Duncan, Eric Anders never been finished. So we're going to play him to finish him. In round one, no less. Got to be out of our minds. Matsumoto against a super tough Miles Johns. I don't know how this fight's finishing, but maybe it finishes once every, 4.5 times or once every 5.5 times. C-Rod against veterans. He's no good against veterans. He's only good against prospects. What are we doing here? Lucindo, here's the second one. We're playing someone to finish someone who never gets finished. I mean, this is ridiculous. Urseg round one against the guy whose sole method of victory is round one. So now that we're going to be 0 for 11, we have to get all of our money back in this last fight. And I really have to talk through which way I want to do this, okay? Because there's one way that I can bet this that, I mean, both things that I can bet here are totally reasonable, okay? And they're totally reasonable outcomes. And one of them is probably going to be, I guess, like 11, 12 to 1. And the other one is going to be like 50 to 1, okay? So what is supposed to happen this fight? Well, all right. So Anthony Hernandez is a cardio machine, all right? The longer the fight goes, the better chance he has to win. And he drowns people all the time, okay? He doesn't look great sometimes in round one, but once he kind of picks up the momentum, it's kind of like all over, okay? And then you have Roman Dolidze, who I'm not saying gasses, but it's clear that he doesn't have the same level of cardio as Anthony Hernandez. So what's apparently going to happen is that Dolidze is going to come out there. He's going to be much more aggressive. He's going to try to get him out of there in like round 1 or 2. And if not, I mean, then he's going to have a problem. Okay. So the idea is that the logical thing you can bet is either, Dolidze round 1, Dolidze round 2, if you wanted to. Okay. Or most logically, Anthony Hernandez by sub, Anthony Hernandez round 5 even. I think that's reasonable that people are going to bet. And then you're going to have Anthony Hernandez by decision, which is obviously very reasonable to bet. So I want to suggest 2 different things here. And I might be violating the rules because I think I do want to do 2 things. Okay. So they both have to get our money back. The first thing which you could certainly bet here, okay, is Dolidze by sub. Okay. Because whenever, again, as I mentioned, you have somebody just going for all kinds of takedowns and all kinds of scrambles. Anybody that's in this fight that has submission abilities is live for a sub. That's just the way it goes. And I think Dolidze is very live for a sub at 1,100. And that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. But I'm going to suggest, you know what? Maybe I will do the second thing also. First, got to clean off my glasses for this one because I want to double check, make sure that I'm not seeing this wrong. All right. Okay, it is plus 1,100 by sub. Let me suggest something else. I want you to imagine this in this fight. Roma Delice comes out like gangbusters, or not even like gangbusters. He has great, great first rounds. Even maybe puts Fernandez in trouble, whatever, but no big deal because that's kind of well known of what's going to happen. Fernandez has elite 5-round cardio. He's dropped round ones before. Round two, okay, because, again, Delice's no idiot, okay? I mean, he thinks he probably has to get him out of there in round two. He has another good round, and he's better than people think. You know what I mean? He's got good submission, grappling, all this stuff. That looks really, really good. So now he's up 2 rounds to 0. And people can see this because you know what? But it's okay because Fluffy's going to take over late. So then between the second and the third rounds, his coach says to him, like, listen, bro, you're up 2-0. Okay? I know you're tired. Okay? You weren't able to get him out of there. But if you could just somehow, just some way, eke out 1 round, then you're going to be totally clear. Then you just got to survive. So he's like, yes, sir. Goes out there in the third round, lays it all on the line. Okay? Just to get that freaking round somehow. Okay? Maybe has a sweep, maybe has a reversal, maybe gets a couple of shots in or whatever it is. So now he gets to 3-0. Let's go. But he's dead. He's exhausted. So round 4 comes, and now Anthony Hernandez gets like 2 takedowns, gets like 3 takedowns. And at the end of the round, he's kind of beating on him a little bit, and he's sort of almost, tough round. Okay. It's definitely 3-1, but okay. He says, Roman, the coach says, Roman, just come out. All you got to do is survive. I promise you we're up 3-1. Okay. You just have to survive this round. But you know what? He's exhausted. He's exhausted. What is he going to do? He comes out, gets taken down right away, and for 5 minutes, Hernandez just is abusing him, beating on him. But, Roman Delice is looking into the freaking corner, and the corner saying, just survive, just survive, just survive. And he somehow, at the very end, survives the round. But he loses the round 10-8 and pays Sheets off at 50-1 for a draw. What do you think? Got a shot? I kind of want to leave it to you whether to try this or not. But I think between Delice by sub and draw, I think that one of these 2 things can fly. As a matter of fact, we are going to do this. I don't care. And now, unfortunately, we can't get our money back by playing Delice by sub, but it'll be close enough. Maybe we'll win with something. And that is going to be it. Wait. Oh, we forgot to draw up the thing. Hold on. Draw 180. Next. Well, good luck, everybody. And again, the point of this, I hope you realize, is not to believe that all these things are most likely to happen, or even are likely at all to happen, but just to get off the chalk narrative, and have some fun with this. And that is going to do it. Let me see if I can bet this now. Can I? Let's see. Nope, not yet. Okay, but once I log off, I will. Good luck, everybody.